Hello everyone, and I'm going to start this video off by saying, I'm sorry I haven't posted in like 2 weeks. I did do my reading rush TBR and then that failed completely. I basically got like very stressed about it and then I could not finish any of the books. I only finished one book and it was the graphic novel, which I really liked the least. And my mental health started to, go downhill a little bit during that, so I couldn't really be filming videos when that was happening. So I apologize that, like, if you guys were expecting a reading vlog and it didn't happen because I, like, ditched out a day into the reading rush. I'm sorry, but I'm back now. And I should be filming, like, an August TBR / July wrap-up, just here so you're caught up. So on to the video. Today I'm going to be doing a book tag that I actually created for Taylor Swift's new album, Folklore, if you did not know that was happening. And I'm in a slightly new area, because I have like this whole, I have a lot of Taylor Swift stuff behind me. You can't even see all of it because there's a lot. So I thought this was a good place to film this video. And I'm also wearing my Reputation Taylor Swift shirt, which like I did not do on purpose. I just happened to be wearing today. So yeah, I created a question for each song. So let's just get into it. So the first question is for the first song, The One, and it's your favorite first book in a series. So this was a pretty easy question for me because I normally like the sequels better than the first books. And for this one, I said The Darkest Minds by Alexander Bracken. And this book is one of the rare times I really like the first book compared to the other books. I like the rest of the series, but not as much as book one, so this is definitely my favorite first book in a series. The next song is Cardigan, and the question is a book that makes you feel comfortable or at home. And for this one, I'm going to say Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is the Fox and Wit like exclusive dust jacket, so you can order them on that website. And this book, I haven't read it in like over 2 years, but the feeling that like I get when I think of it is like very like cozy and happy, just because like I feel so connected to the world and the characters, and the writing is so like magical that it gives me a nice like fuzzy feeling. The next song is The Lost American Dynasty, and the question is a historical fiction or a book based on a true story. You can do like a memoir for this one, or any book that is true, or any book that like is based on like some sort of history. So this one I decided to do A Work in Progress by Connor Franta. I really love Connor Franta. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. And his book is really good. It's a memoir about his life, and him being queer and him growing up, and it's beautifully written. It's not like, a lot of people assume that just because it's like a YouTuber's book, you assume it's not going to be good, but it's actually really well written. It's a really good book, so I would definitely recommend reading it. And it also has like pictures in it and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a really good book, and I definitely recommend you reading this. And if you didn't know, The Lost American Dynasty is based off of a real person. So yeah, that's a true story. So the last book, wow, this is not even close to the last book. So the next question is My Tears Ricochet, which is one of my favorite songs on the album, and is a book that made you cry. So I'm not much of a crier. Sorry if you can hear the cars. So I'm not much of a crier. I don't think I've ever like actually shed real tears when reading a book. But I have had a few books where I get kind of just tears in my eyes, but that's about it. But for this one, I said Through the Dark by Alexandra Bracken. This is a collection of novellas set in the Darkest Minds universe. I know I already said like another book in this series for this video, but I feel like this is like definitely the book that has me the most emotional out of all the books that have made me emotional. It is really just like a dark and sad story, and like it just hits like super, super hard. So this book destroyed me. So the next question is for the song Mirror Ball, and the question is a complex character or character that has many layers. And for this one, I'm gonna do Holland from the Shades of Magic series. I don't remember what his last name is. And it has like a lot of vowels, so I don't think I would be able to pronounce it even if I remember what it was. So Holland is kind of seen as like the bad guy in the first two books in this series, and then in the last book, Conjuring of Light, which is this one, we basically get his point of view, which really like put a spin on his character, and it made you realize that like why he's doing the things he's doing, and it made me really sympathize with him. Like, he's such a broken character, and yeah, it's just so sad that like what you get from his perspective in this book. So yeah, that is my answer for that one. Next is the Song of Seven, and the question is a book from your childhood. So for this one, I was too lazy to go get the book. I think it's somewhere in my house. But the book is Fablehaven by Brandon Mole, I believe. And I remember reading that book. It was one of the first like chapter books that I read. It's like a pretty chunky book. And I remember really liking it. It's also like probably the first fantasy I ever read. So yeah, that was a good book from my childhood that definitely like launched me into the books that I like reading now. So the next book, or the next song, is August, and is a song that reminds you of summer. So I'm not a seasonal reader. I don't choose my books based on seasons. So I just chose a book that I read during summer. And that is These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. And I read this whole series, I think, 2 summers ago. And I finished the last book just as school was getting in. So that's what makes, when I think of these books, I think of summer and that summer break. So yeah. So next is This Is Me Trying, and is a book you tried to read but didn't like. So for this one, this is kind of controversial, but Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I actually tried to read that book twice, and I didn't like it. I think I got about 100-ish pages in, and I was just kind of bored. And the writing style is kind of like sexist. But this isn't a review for Red Rising. I actually have a whole review on my Goodreads if you want to go look at that. I can link my Goodreads down below. But yeah, I really wish that I liked that book. It has really good concepts, and I would really like to get into adult fantasy. So yeah, I tried really hard to read that book. Maybe I'll try reading it again sometime. Okay, the next song is Illicit Affairs, and is a book that is your guilty pleasure. And for this one, I said Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This whole series. Like it's that kind of series where like I know that it's not very good and there's definitely better books out there. But it's like I still read it because it's kind of like addictive and there's just like so much drama and that's why I like it. So yeah, it's definitely like a fun read and it's not something you have to put a lot of work into. So the next question is Invisible String, a song Invisible String, and it is a book that is based on mythology. So I looked into the meaning of this song, Invisible String, and it's actually based off a Japanese folklore myth. Which is like a string between soulmates or whatever. I haven't really looked at it. It's some sort of Japanese folklore. So mythology in books is actually something I really love. I'm always trying to find books that have mythology based on them. So the one I chose is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. This is a high fantasy based on Arabian mythology. I read this book in 2019. Loved it a lot. I can't wait until the sequel comes out in January, I believe. So yeah, I really love this book and has this really rich world building about around Arabian culture. And the next song is And the next song is Mad Woman, and it's a book with a badass female lead. So for this one, I did Side by Neil Shusterman. And one of the main characters is Citra Terranova, and she's such a badass. I absolutely love that, like, everything that she does in this series is super, like, thought-provoking. And yeah, like, she's just not a character you want to mess with, because she'll get you back. So yeah. So we're down to the last 4 or 5 questions. And the next song is Epiphany, and it is a book that has a virus or sickness. Because I looked into the meaning of this song is actually about COVID. So, yeah. For this one, I said Illuminate by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And this has this virus that is kind of like a zombie virus, that turns everyone on this spaceship into these like zombies. And it is super freaky. Like, will give you nightmares. And if you're not into gore, then like probably shouldn't read this book, because the part where this virus is taking over is very gruesome. So yeah, it's really well done, and the authors really make it terrifying. And yeah, it's super high stakes because it's spreading on a spaceship where the characters can't really just get out. So yeah. So the next song is Betty. This is actually my favorite song in folklore. I love that song so much. And is a book with a queer relationship. So it's more like a theory that this song is queer. Because like it is told from the point of view of a male character, and it's based off fictional characters, but the male's character's name is James, and Taylor Swift is actually named after James Taylor, so that's how I interpret it. So yeah. So this one I did It Came From the Sky by Chelsea Sidoti. This has a gay main character and a male-male romance. I read this book in April or May. And I really loved it. It's one of my favorite books of this year that I've read so far. This is actually an arc, but it actually comes out today, I think. So, yeah, this is a great book, and if you're looking for a contemporary that has like mixed media and told in interesting format, then definitely read this one. Next is a book with characters that can't seem to get a break or can't seem to get any peace. The question is peace, by the way. And for this one, I'm going to go with An Ember in the Ashes, which I always say for these kind of questions, because characters in this series just go through much suffering. Like, I just feel so bad for them. Like, each book, their suffering just gets worse. Like, I'm just begging for the author to stop and give them some peace. I'm super terrified for the last book that comes out in December, so I'm hoping that the author has some mercy. And, you know, my favorite characters don't die. So this is the last question, and it's a song, Hoax, and is a book that surprised you. So for this one, I did The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. This book surprised me in a lot of ways. First, because I wasn't even planning to read it. And like, I didn't even know about it until like the day I started reading it. Because I believe like Epic Reads or Penguin Teen, one of those Instagram pages, they post little clips of audiobooks so you can get a glimpse of the book. And I read the first like few pages of the audiobook of this book. And I was like, that's great. I got to read that. So I went and, you know, rented the audiobook. And I listened to the first half of it in a day in like one sitting, which has never happened to me before. So another reason this surprised me is it's in verse, which is kind of like a form of poetry. And I've never read a book in verse before besides this one. And it wasn't really something I was interested in doing, just because like in general, I do not like poetry. No, poetry is not my thing. But this book definitely opened up my, you know, my feelings for poetry. And I'm definitely thinking about reading another book that is done in verse. So yeah, this is a contemporary and it is done in verse. So yeah, pretty out of my comfort zone. And it's also just like the hardcover underneath is so pretty. Like, look at that. Like, there's flamingos on it. Like, amazing. That's the end of this video. I hope you liked this video. It's a little bit different from what I would normally do because I created this tag. So I hope some of you guys will pick this up and do it, and hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe and like this video. Thank you.